castle rooms. This is
Mm,
something a lot of people wonder. They think about a castle, they think about the walls, and then they go,
yes.
oh crap, what goes inside my castle? For you, what rooms should a fantasy castle have? What feels iconic and important to
We
you?
talked about this a lot when designing castles and crowns, and
Imagine.
yes, and it's a wonderful checklist of things that could go on the inside. In the movies, you might think that every castle consists entirely of a wall, a courtyard, and an audience chamber, right?
Mm.
And that's it. But right, of course there's a castle kitchen. Of course there's a stable. Of course there's living quarters, which might not be for nobles. It might just be a barracks and a garrison, right? So part of it's what's the function of this castle and who lives here. But the stuff that's most fun for storytelling are things like the crypts or dungeons, anything where the hero's journey can take place going under the castle. It's locked up, it's dark, it's spooky. And to some degree, I think the towers, I mean, you see this in Lord of the Rings, you see it in, I don't know, the Two Princes in the Tower, bits of history, right? The idea of someone either, or, well, basically anyone kept prisoner is kept prisoner in a tower. It's tradition, people.
Yeah.
And in fantasy, the moment you say that, it's, well, can we land on the tower? Can we climb up the vines and through the window? All that. But it encourages not the spooky, let's go underground. It encourages the, can we rescue the prince? Can we free the wrongfully imprisoned, right? Can we get Robin Hood out of this mess? And those stories, I mean, they're so deeply associated with castles because castles are seats of authority. Who's making the arrests? Well, it's the sheriff, the king, the prince, the bad duke. So it's the seat of authority, and subverting it is what the tower is about for me. But
I love that. It's also something that's literally difficult to attain, I think.
yes,
Like
yes,
that's struggle. Do you know what I mean? Like you literally have to climb the tower somehow.
yep. And it's quite thrilling as a story, right? Like we see people attempt this from, I don't know, Errol Flynn days on, right? On film. Video games will occasionally do the vertical stuff, but every tabletop role playing game, you know, there are rules for how to climb a cliff, a tower, and get in. The throne room is the one that I sort of glossed past at the beginning, but it really is the audience chamber, the great hall. That's the one that, I mean, I said before, the queen's castle, the king's castle is all about status and look at me. And the audience chamber is the interior version of that, right? You've been allowed onto the castle grounds. We trust you're not going to kill the court wizard. Now you're allowed into the audience chamber. And it's a whole nother place to show off with whatever conveys status in your particular world.
Yeah, grandeur and that thing. And I
Yeah.
think the castle as the seat of diplomacy is another thing that we haven't touched on yet. But, you know, we've
Yes.
touched on intrigue and conniving and, you know,
Mm-hmm.
closed door deals. But the castle is really, as you were saying, like you put the castle on the hill because it's defensible. I have watched first year students in Roman armor run up a hill. And by the time they got to the top, they were not capable of swinging anything. There is a reason they put castles on hills, guys.
I have been a tourist in Budapest climbing up the stairs to Buda Castle. And let me tell you, by the time I got up without any armor on, I was not capable of doing much more than touring the building, right?
Yeah,
It's a
absolutely.
long way up and it's
Yeah, absolutely.
exhausting.
So they
Uh,
put them on these hills for that reason, but you know, it's a status thing, they have to be seen, and that
yes,
continues through in this diplomatic space as well. So that throne room is a place often to hear courts, it's a place to
dispense justice, right?
dispense
Yeah.
justice as and a place to be seen to be in power, not just to exert power, but to be seen to exert power. So I think
Yep.
you're absolutely right. Like that's something that's very, very critical for a certain kind of castle. And you know, something that if you're world building, that's a place to go a little bit extra. If it's a fantasy castle, think about how they might use magic to make this a little bit extra, how they might use, you know, fantastic architecture or visuals or, you know, tapestries that move. I don't know what you have in your world, but this is the space that all of those toys come out the pram. This
And
is
you,
the
yes,
impression space.
I mean, it's the height of magical interior decorating, but I want to go back to what you just said about exerting power. I think that part of what people miss about throne rooms and audience chambers is when you have a scene there, you have an opportunity to show the nature of justice, authority, and command, right?
Yeah.
If the visitor to the castle in a story or a role-playing game sees that the king or the count is dispensing justice, it's a nice way to immediately give the character of that ruling figure. Are they dispensing justice fairly between two farmers who are arguing about a lost cow? Or is he having some, dwarf immolated immediately by his court wizard and reduced to ash for being a traitor to the realm, right? Like, okay, I like the cow king better from a personal level, but it gives you a great opportunity to say, you've walked in, he's just busy ruling. Oh, they are going to burn the dwarf. Okay, then. It sets the tone immediately if they're taking action and exerting power.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a fantastic show don't tell. And the
Mm-hmm.
way that everybody is reacting to that also tells you a lot about, like, is this a kingdom where everyone believes the same? Is there dissension?
Right.
How far down or up does this leading figure's temperament go? Does how
Right.
indoctrinated are people? How much do people
Yes.
say this is right or this is wrong? Which is also interesting if you're doing storytelling, because
Mm.
that gives you opportunities. Who can I turn to my side? Who might be interested in what I have to say? If could I organize a coup here? How could this work?
Right. If the crowd is unruly, find out who the ringleader is.
Yeah.
If the crowd is going along with it, you're going to have to do something else. Yeah.
Yeah,
No coup.
absolutely. So you're totally right. Like that can absolutely be the heart of the story, as it may be the heart of the castle as well. And that throne room moment is so, so strong, I think.
Yeah. We think about these spaces when we visit them in the real world as what would it be like? But I
Mm.
think our role as storytellers or as game masters is to bring those people to life through their actions. As you said, show don't tell is always a good idea. So yes, go nuts on the magical interior decorating, but also go a little wild with medieval style fantasy justice.